programming that they have. It's programming that we have found other funding for in the past, but this, by being a member of a community in Kansas, they will provide that funding for us. So that includes Destination Boot Camp, Economic Gardening, the Ice House, Youth Entrepreneurship Challenge. There's about 6 big programming things that they do that we really like, and we've always had to find additional funding for that, so we won't have to do that any longer, so that's good. That's really all I have. Good to see you all in person.
Been busy. Thanks, Heather. Appreciate it. Okay, next item on the agenda this evening is the consent agenda. I entertain a motion to pass the consent agenda in its entirety. So moved. Been moved by Councilman Graybon that we approve the consent agenda in its entirety. Entertain a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Adolph. Is there any further discussion? No further discussion. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda this evening is the resolution 2020-8, the Mitchell County Rural Water District Number 1 contract approval. Katie, did you have anything that you were?
That's just what you saw last time. We had made no changes. This is a 10-year with just the set rate rather than trying to use the ECA.
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilman Graybon that we approve the resolution 2020-8 for the Mitchell County Rural Water District Number 1 contract approval. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Councilman Meyer. Any further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next item is resolution 2020-9, the Mitchell County Rural Water District Number 3 contract approval. Any questions for staff?
Same thing.
Well-
A little bit of a time limit as far as.
Yeah, that was the main change. And that was probably something that even in the MOU we really never pinned down necessarily, but I think they want to go with us and stay with us for a long term. But I think they also want to make sure that everything's going to work out right. So, we'll, just like you would try to retain any good customer, we got them for 5 years, and we'll make sure that we can keep them after that too. So that's the main change with the one that you saw previously. So.
Been moved by Councilman Gingler that we approve resolution 2020-9 for Mitchell County Rural Water District Number 3. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Meyer. Any further discussion? No further discussion. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Moving on with the agenda this evening, we'll move to the formal actions under fireworks donations. It's like it's being recommended by staff that we donate $1,000 to the, and I think that's what we did last year. Entertain a motion for approval. Been moved by Councilman McMillan that we approve the fireworks donation of $1,000. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Gingler. Any discussion? No further discussion. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Now I can go home. So, thank you.
Gotta help the city manager. Okay, next item on the
Hey, lady, yeah.
the special event request for the disc golf tournament at Chautauqua Park. Any questions? Those no question, entertain a motion to approve. So moved. Been moved by Councilman Meyer that we approve the request for the disc golf tournament at the park. Second by Councilman Graybon. Any discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Next item on the agenda is adjournment.
So moved.
Been moved by Councilman Graybon that we adjourn. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman McMillan. Any discussion? No discussion. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Motion carries. We'll go into the work session now. Katie?
No,
Yeah.
thank you.
Jason, do you have anything?
Just really quick, I wanted to point out, if I forgot to, in your packet, but just so everybody can hear it here, but we did get that rebate from ENC Insurance, so that was our, our property casualty insurance. So pretty consistent. Kind of seems kind of feathered out here. It's been a nice 3 to 5 year average of about 45 grand. So that kind of helps offset that. I think we approved that a couple of months ago to redo that, and that premium's about 320 grand. So that takes it back down to about 290 or something. So yeah, be interesting to see what that looks like after this year. But sorry, I just want to fit that in there quick. So thanks to EMC, and I think Powell's Insurance Agency is our agent. So
They've done a really good job for us over a number of years, so it's nice to be able to continue to partner with them. Okay, we'll go to discussion items. Jason, the Blue Cross and Blue Shield renewal options.
yeah, so this is kind of dabbled into it last week. This is a little bit deeper, and then we're getting a few more things buttoned up, and Mark will be here in person to give you the full deal on March 17th or May 17th, our meeting that day. So primarily what I kind of wanted to go over was just kind of the different options that we've been looking at and how we've been trying to roll through this thing, and really boil it down to, in a sense, 2 renewal options. One would be, hey, keep it fully funded through Blue Cross Blue Shield, or do we make the switch now to self-funded, again, still through Blue Cross Blue Shield. To the employee, they won't realize any difference. It's just a matter of we do a little bit more administrative work and really not that much, and we get to reap some of the administrative savings, some of the drug rebates that come through, and also obviously if you have a good year, we're going to see more of that versus going to Blue Cross and parking there. So it's kind of the worst case scenario, but that's going to be no worse than what we're already doing this year. So anyways, I'm not going to get too much into explaining the self-funded because he does a great job explaining that. He has some great sheets. I kind of wanted to show you the difference in costs and kind of what we're tweaking. Again, it's kind of arrows in our quiver that we're kind of every year you can kind of expend a few, trying to keep it as good as we can, but also offset that with the increased costs that come on. So that's kind of what we're trying to balance. Up here at the very top, you can kind of see what the current scenario is. That's what we currently pay in premium. And again,
Can you zoom in a little? I'm sorry.
sure, yep. Is that better, Andrew? Okay, yeah. Let me try a little bit more. You don't like my tiny numbers?
Well, it was more,
I'm just joking.
it's more because of the diagonal.
Yeah, that's true too, yeah. Okay, so yeah, and the big numbers is really what we care about the most, obviously, but really, so here's kind of the current, so basically this current bracket right here is kind of what we're currently experiencing, and obviously this is apples to apples as far as number of contracts. So that does change. Obviously, the fewer contracts we have, the better. So the total dollar amount's a little bit relative, but at least they're relative to each other. So the next one down is renewal. So that's what we got just straight out of the gate, 23%. Pretty nasty. So dental wasn't too bad. That's the next column over. This is the D column, is the dental premium, and there's the health insurance premium. So really, really steep. Now, the first thing that we did, and again, this is where I think having Mark and Hub working for us is going to pay off a lot, is we were paying a lot of premium and a lot of, I don't know, extra just to have the reserve. Remember that reserve? Well, we haven't got a rebate check since 2015, so we were paying a lot of extra premium, a lot of extra dollars just to have this reserve account, because if we have a good year, then we finally get some of that back. Well, we're so far away from ever getting that back that it's just killing you. It's basically just a bookkeeping situation. So it's not really any cost to us. That functionality goes away, and so we're going to just, the cost will be the cost, and obviously there's that's just kind of the way it is. So doing that, kind of shooting that quiver or that arrow, helps get it down to a 7.7% renewal. So a lot more manageable. The dental comes way down. So now at least we're kind of talking in the ballpark and kind of understand where we're at. And the next one down basically is going to a little bit higher copay. Again, we have a really generous copay right now. I believe it is
Prescription copay.
Yeah, prescription copay, thank you. Yeah, 15, 30, 45. And so this goes to a 15, 50, 75, again, just based on the tiers of what kind of drugs you have. So again, the plan's still taking the brunt of the cost, obviously, but it's just taking a little bit more. Again, that's just a simple little adjustment, again, to save a little bit more dollars. So that takes it down about another, 0.75%. The next one down would be going to what they call a results RX. So again, a lot of your healthcare costs anymore are just prescription drug driven. I mean, and especially ours is just, the poster child for that is there's a lot of prescription drug costs in it. Again, Mark will go through that more in depth with you next week. But again, so results is basically a different formulary where it's, again, taking some of those drugs a little bit higher into the tiers. So again, there's a little bit more participation from the employee, but in the scheme of things, they might be paying $200 or $300 for this really $60,000 or $70,000 drug, and this results might take it to $1,500. So it's definitely more, but it's manageable. You run it through that flex, you're doing those things, and again, juxtaposed to the fact that it's a $70,000. If you wouldn't have a baby, it costs you $70,000. You're going to be paying more than $1,500 or even the $250. So that's kind of the idea, is trying to keep those the same. So again, that helps you a little bit. Again, doesn't it's not meant to hurt or ding anybody too terribly bad. It's just trying to, again, spread those costs so this is sustainable. And again, even this is extremely market competitive. That would be about a 4% increase. So again, those single digits, which makes it really nice. Then we drop down to the self-funded. Self-funded, basically, these two last rows are really a comparison of the last two rows I just showed you. Okay, so again, Select RX just slightly bumping the prescription copay, and the Results RX, same thing here. So we got the self-funded Select RX again, and a self-funded Results RX. The only difference, and he's working on getting this fixed, is this still has kind of our old copay. So just to compare apples to apples, he's going to change this to 15, 50, 75 just to match it up. But we're not talking substantial dollars really on that, as you could see before. So that actually takes us up a little bit to about a 10% renewal. So Mark's going to be really good about explaining this. I'll do my best to explain it, and quite frankly, there's really hardly any difference between the Results and the Select. So like he said, if you're the consumer trying to buy it, you would just stay with that Select this first year because you're getting more bang for your buck. He's like, I don't know why. He's like, maybe on the fully funded, they kind of flubbed up their numbers and they're giving you too good a deal here, so they're trying to make it up on the self-funded. But either way, what Mark would, and he'll explain it even better, is just saying that, it seems like, oh wow, we're going to pay more to go self-funded. But he said this is probably about the most attractive gap you're going to see usually. Because obviously self-funded is going to go kind of the worst case scenario. The idea being we're going to be on the hook for so much of it. We're just going to be paying the bills on ourselves, and we're going to have a max, kind of almost an umbrella or ceiling type policy that says, hey, anything above that, this big insurance policy that we pay this big premium on will cover the rest of it. So obviously they're banking on the fact that, hey, only 3 or 4 people are going to go above that $30,000 that we're going to pay out of pocket, and a lot of people obviously are going to only go $5,000 or $10,000. But ultimately, we're only going to pay the $982, no matter what happens. Okay. Anything below that, we win and gets to stay in that employee benefit fund and carry on to the next year. Okay. So obviously, in our other side, our current plan, if we only spend $800,000, we don't get, we paid $950, and they're keeping that, and we get our renewal, and it's probably still an increase. That's how it usually goes.
Worst case scenario is we pay a 10% increase.
Correct.
This year.
Correct.
Best case scenario, we pay less than we did a year ago.
Correct.
I mean,
That's
whatever.
correct. And again, this is something that we'd want to commit to. It'd be a definite at least 3-year commitment. You know what I mean? To make sure it rides out. You want to make sure it's kind of investing in this scenario. You kind of want to make sure you're not in and out like, oh, this isn't going to work because it's not going to work well. But we're going to have that upside protection. So again, back to what Mark was saying about this. Usually, if you had a pretty decent year, they're going to look back to your 3 years, and you might have 2 bad years in there, and you had a good year, and then the renewal year on a traditional plan, it might be, in our scenario, $750. But the self-funded, they're going to say, well, 2 years ago it was $950 and $950, so we're going to shoot you a $950 price, And so it would look like a 30% increase to do this, I guess is what I'm trying to explain. So we're already ugly. So we had a good one like maybe 2-3 years ago, and so they discount that. It's kind of a weighted thing. He'll go through that, but so since we're already ugly, we're already kind of paying, for lack of a better word, out, through the nose a little bit for it. So it's not as much of a sticker shock to do this, and the upside is good for us, based on the way our plan is and the way it works. So anyways, it's kind of what we're trying to do by the time Mark gets here next meeting is to kind of have it's really two apples, just two different types of apples, but really the same makeup within them, because the plan framework and what the employee goes and does, whether it's fully funded or self-funded, they won't know any different. The main difference is going to be in the office, where we're basically going to settle up with Blue Cross every week for what's been expended. So, and then obviously those mechanisms of the top side protection is going to kick in based on where everybody's at. But, if I go to the doctor for an earache, the $200 bill, it's going to show up on the settle out statement, that following week or two. So we'll have a pretty good, the nice thing too is it's really manageable. We can really, educate employees, but also kind of know what we're doing and how we're performing. I don't know, Mandy, what other little nuggets did you pull out, or did I cover a lot of it?
They said on the self-funded, but what they don't do, since we're fully funded, is Blue Cross keeps the rebates from the drug companies, and they give us 80%, but he can't quantify that.
Yeah.
So that's another bonus.
Well, what she's saying is, right now on the fully funded, Blue Cross gets it all. On the self-funded, we would get 80% of that rebate. And I think you can, like you said, you couldn't quantify that, but we have some pretty pricey prescription drugs going on, so I would assume there'd be something there. So again, that just kind of goes into that bucket, if you will. So, yeah, Andrew.
So whether we do self-funded or we do the
Fully funded.
fully funded,
Yep.
as we've sort of been doing,
Yeah.
are we only going to be offering one option, such as SelectRx or results, or are we actually going to be offering the employee the choice of choosing SelectRx or ResultRx?
Yeah, good question. So basically the choices we offer now are a traditional plan and a high deductible plan, and that's what we would continue to offer, is a traditional and a high deductible. And basically you guys would be choosing whether we would go that results, and that's what everybody would be under that same formulary. Yep. Yeah. Again, if we go fully funded, I don't really see the personally, and Mark can go into that more depth, why you would just stay with that SelectRx, and again, maybe tweak that copay just so again we kind of start stepping. I think that would be more what Market's doing, if not more so. So this stuff over here to the right, this is really looking at some alternatives. I think one of them is this $14 thing you see here. The whole air ambulance market went crazy a couple of years ago, and Blue Cross doesn't have a uniform agreement with anybody, so it could either be covered or you could get a $30,000 bill, which is really scary. So what this does is just covers all the employees for that, so we don't have to worry about that, and just covers every air ambulance you could ever need. So obviously being out in the middle of nowhere, I'm actually surprised at how many times I hear helicopters go over. it's just one of those, sooner or later it seems like somebody in your family is going to have to take a ride. But this one right here would be vision. Again, the idea being that we would probably, over here is kind of a little bit more math of employee cost share part of it. We're not going to tweak that tremendously, but we'd probably, instead of saying, oh, everybody just pays it on their own, from a simplicity standpoint, we would probably just slightly raise and carry some of that, but also obviously raise some of the participation from the employee just to kind of net some of that out. But you're not talking, by the time it goes through Flex, you're not talking big dollars for a lot more protection. So that's just kind of what those middle numbers are. But again, Mark will go in this a lot more depth. I just wanted to be I want to kind of set the table, so it wasn't like you're drinking from a fire hose when he comes back. But yeah.
So
Lee?
on the fully funded, we've been seeing pretty big increases year to year.
Yes, sir.
We see a 10% increase the first year if we funded ourselves. Right?
Sure.
So what kind of increases year to year would we see on average if we're funding it?
That's where we'd have to talk to Mark. I don't, that's a good question. Write that down for him. That's a good question, because, that's going to be offset. Let's say we had a year where, here's what I know, is they look back at the last 3 years and they weight them, and it's weighted separately from large expenses to prescription drugs to kind of what they know as one-time events. They wash those out, you know what I mean? So they know all those things happen. You know, they know that just because you had, you know, traumatic injury or something one year doesn't mean it's going to be back there next year. Okay, so that all being said, so they do that, and so, you know, lack of a better word, we might look a little ugly for another year,
Right.
but you know, if we have, it's kind of cyclical. It seems like we'll have a couple good years in a row and a couple bad years. Well, maybe I feel, you know, going by the cycles, we're about due for a couple good years potentially. So what that mean, you know, with that being said, you might build up a war chest of $200,000 or $300,000. So yeah, next year we get another one that's still another 10%, but it doesn't really matter because we saved $200,000 on this thing. You know what I mean? So it's really not, you know, so because it's, again, that's really worst case scenario, because really that 988, he'll break that down, is really made up of straight costs. You know, me paying straight the bill, Todd's tonsillectomy or whatever, and then, but also, you know, probably, I can't remember, 100 and some thousand, 130,000 just for a premium for that cap. You know, so yeah, I think these are good questions to be thinking about and be ready to ask Mark, because he's been in this game for a long time, and I think you'll really enjoy. I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like you're going to really understand it. He knows how to break it. I mean, he hit that 22.9% right on the nose about 3 months ago. So I think you'll have a comfort level to be able to make a good decision either way.
But basically, as far as the cost changes, you're basically trading off either paying more per month with lower RX, or flip-flopping it potentially, depending on what kind of RXs you have.
Yeah.
Paying more out of pocket every month when you get your prescriptions, but less insurance for the insurance.
Well,
You're
not
trading-
necessarily.
Well,
Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah, if we chose to just go straight,
if you did the
man, yes.
1575, 120
Yes.
versus whatever, you're
Yeah.
paying less out of pocket per month, but you're paying this. So basically, if somebody only has generics,
Yeah.
they would do better getting the largest copays.
Yeah.
However, if you have a lot of expensive things, where right
Correct.
now you're only paying 45, and now all of a sudden they're going to jump to 150.
Yep.
Do we have any idea of the breakdown of our employees and what?
Yeah, we do, and again, that's where Mark's been really handy. Is he's got that report. Again, we don't know the employee for HIPAA reasons, but we kind of know, hey, this is where these would slot in, and where we're really affected pretty minimally, if you will, enough so that we could, you know, with some education, we should be able to get, you know, things slotted in okay.
Well, it would just be good to know if we're going to affect 50% of our employees, but even if we're affecting 25% of our employees, by saying you're now going to have to pay $150 a month for a drug that you've only been paying $45.
Sure.
I mean, if you're only saving, like your family plan is $2,100 versus $19, so you're saving $200. Is that per year or is that per month?
I'm sorry, we're
$2,154 on line 80. Is that
that's per month?
That's per month. Okay. So if you're saving $200 per month, but now my medicine is costing me $300 versus $90.
Yeah.
I'd sort of, if we could see more of a breakdown of that, I think that would be good for us to be able to make our decision.
Well, and I can do that, but I mean, the intention is to start. I mean, that's, you know, there is some burden that's got to be carried a little bit, you know.
And I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just.
I don't know.
I just want to know how much impact we're talking about to our employees by us.
Sure.
Because it might look on paper, hey, let's just only increase it by 4% and everyone's going to be happy.
Sure.
But now our employees are out of pocket X number of more dollars, and that's not only affecting our current employees, but that's also going to affect future. If we have to hire people to bring in.
Yeah, I can do my best to try to figure that out. I don't know.
Right, I know you're not. You know, there's HIPAA and everything else. I just like a general idea of what we're talking about.
Yep, I understand. Okay. Yeah. We did that. We definitely looked at making sure nobody's going to be left out in the cold for sure. You know, on that part of it. Yeah, as far as a real tangible dollar, I couldn't tell you just offhand, but I think we could figure that out.
And I think when Jason says education, that is really talking to your employees, encouraging them to talk to their doctors. You know, for now they have really no incentive to really have that conversation about alternatives, and you know, it's just not sustainable for us to continue to fund this. So it's time for them to have some of those tough conversations. It's not going to work for everybody, but there's probably a few out there that could, you know, look at some different options. So.
Well, and I think the way Mark sees it too is just, those kind of baby steps. But I totally agree. I don't want to. I've heard those horror stories where you do it thinking you got all the bases covered and it really nails somebody hard, and we definitely don't want to do that. But it's kind of one
I
of
just
those.
don't want to assume either way.
Yeah.
Of what we're at, like just,
Yeah.
the more facts we have, the better.
But yeah. So we'll have all that, and I think it'll be really worthwhile, based on what Mark can bring to the table for us. So I think it'll be some really good information for you. Because I know that the city, we kind of had a bad self-funding maybe experience. I don't know what the right word is, maybe 10 years ago or something. So I just don't want people, if you have employees, I've heard self-funded, it's not the same thing. So it's really, from their perspective, the card's going to look the same.
Okay, is that all on the Blue Cross, Jason?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll move on to the solar RFP results.
Yep, just a second here. Let me get my... Technology has not been my friend the last couple of days here. Oh, there he is. Scott, can you hear us? All right, hold on here. Let's see, I think we're getting them. All right. Scott, can you hear us now?
I can hear you, yes.
All righty. Hold on here. I'm not understanding is why. Oh, I know